Hello everybody, what's up? How you doing? For today's video you hear me saying anything weird or stuff like that, it's because I went to the dentist and they had to numb half my face, so I'm still recovering from that. But I'm mostly good, so hopefully it doesn't interfere too much with the video. But yeah, no, today I wanted to make a small, my first impressions of the first 10 hours I've played of Wuthering Waves. I had the game open for longer than 10 hours, but I had some other stuff to do on the side. So realistically, I've only played for about 10 hours, which was the really long stream that I had the night on release. If you were there, we had a blast. And then some off time that I had just completing quests, stuff like that on my own. I've finished Act 3 of the story. I am currently Union level 16 with a databank that is level 7. I have gotten my 5-star, evidently. I have Ling Yang. I will talk about him later. Yeah, I just wanted to go over the game and how much I've liked it and not liked it. Sort of cover everything that I've had, I've thought about and, simmered for the past 24 hours. I'm going to be yoinking this format that Tectone posted on Twitter about, the game, like first impressions. I made the same thing because I think it's a pretty good format, basically, to talk about the game. First of all, the story. The story, for me, as you saw in the little tweet, is a 5 out of 10, which is, it's middle of the road. It's literally, like, average. 1 is horrendous, 10 is perfect, 5 is halfway mark. It's okay. The reason why it's okay is because it actually was not that great. It was like a 3-4 out of 10 up until the very last act that I've played, which is Act 3. The story has a metric ton of info dump in the first 3 acts in the prologue. You spend so much time talking to Yang Yang, talking to Baizhi. You spend so much time talking to like scientists and random NPCs where they just like tell you things, and there's so much information to absorb, which is expected considering just how like deep the story is, and how like even though it touches on similar like sci-fi and fantasy concepts from other games and from other media, it's honestly pretty unique in the way it's set up. But for example, it's a little crazy that I'm 10 hours in, 3 acts and a prologue into the game as well, and I still don't understand what the Lament is, which is one of the most important events in the history of this world, apparently. And I still don't understand what it is. And when they try to explain it to you, they explain it by giving you a new definition, a new word that I forgot at this point. That they also have to explain on top of that. So they go like, lament, what is the lament? The lament is blah 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 blah, keyword blah 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 blah. And then they're like, what's the keyword? And then they go, the keyword is blah 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 blah. And then at that point, like, you kind of get lost and you don't know what the lament even is anymore. But there's a lot of stuff like that. There's Yang Yang, who is your main companion throughout the story, from the beginning up until so far act 4 that I just started, speaks so incredibly slowly. Like it's almost ridiculous compared to other characters, how slow she speaks, and it really makes the story drag out for way longer than it should. It'd be like if for example in Genshin, Paimon talked at like 0.75 speed, and Paimon has like 30% of the dialogue in the entire game just by herself. So like it's pretty hefty how much time is just added because Yang Yang speaks so slowly. And all that info dumping plus Yang Yang talking slowly and like sort of being unclear about the rules of the world at the beginning, it really drags the story up until Act 3. Which is when you saw the tweet, it said Metal Scar. Scar is a character in the story. And when you meet Scar, the story picks up, and it's so well written, it is so well narrated, it is so well voice acted. Everything about Act 3 is phenomenal. It's probably one of my favorite like parts of a story in a gacha game I've ever played. The metaphors that they use, in that story. The reveals that happen in Act 3 is all really well written. I love it. I'm not gonna get more into detail other than just mention that it's really good. Honestly, Act 3 saved it from being like a 3 out of 10 story. I might have to tap out and just like mess around for the world for like 10 hours before I go back to the story. To, you know, I'm actually interested. It got me hooked, and I could do with another 3 meh acts before I drop interest again, and another banger act has to hook me back in. In terms of the small story quests and the world quests and all that stuff, I haven't done the like the companion quests, or like the, I think that's what it's called, like the ones you do for your characters. Like I think I have like his available to do, but I haven't done it because I want to do it on stream, which I might be streaming tonight again. twitch.tv/Wukatoni2708. But I haven't done those, but I have done a bunch of just like random NPC quests, just random occurrences out in the world, and honestly, they're okay. They're neat. They're nothing like crazy. I haven't done any that have been like, whoa, this is a good, well-written quest. It's more so, they're more so like fun or funny, or they provide, you know, some better world building. Especially for Chijia, there's so much like story that, especially in the city, that revolves around Chijia and her relationships with people in the town, and it's honestly very endearing to see how many like different, I guess, relationships she has and how she acts differently around other people. It's honestly pretty, like, it's pretty good, and that also helps the story and the world, which I'll talk about later. But overall, the story, if it wasn't for Act 3, it would have been pretty meh. It's still pretty meh, but Act 3 really saved it. Now, let's get into the combat, baby. It's so cool, man. It's immaculate. The combat in this game is amazing. I'm gonna say outright, because it's gonna get compared to Genshin quite a lot. It's nothing like Genshin's combat. It's worthless to compare it to Genshin, because Genshin's combat is centered around elemental reactions, just your skill and your burst. That's it. It's centered around getting the most out of just the very simple tools you have, and that's it. Wuthering Waves combat is actually extremely like in depth and has a lot more to offer on the moment-to-moment combat. And you can't autopilot it as much as you can for Genshin. Enemies can and will just do a ton of damage, especially if you're under leveled or are going against a Tacit Discord, a boss, or a challenge boss, like the special ones you find around the world that like are holograms. I think that's what they're called, they're hologram bosses. And you have to dodge, you have to parry, you have to use your iframes. Which, you know, in Genshin, you also use iframes, you also use your dashes, especially if you have gotten Arlecchino and recent characters that are a little bit more squishy. But, like, it has taken that long for Genshin to, you know, introduce, I guess, more depth to the combat. They have it out the box for every character, no matter what. The parrying feels great, and it's very highly rewarded because of the the stance meter that every enemy has, that when you break it, you get like a window of opportunity to attack, sometimes even to do an execution move, which is really fucking cool. There are red parries that can only be parried with your echo abilities. This little guy, right? If I got hit by like an enemy that flashed red, I hit that and that parries it, and that's the only way you can parry it. You can also dodge it with your iframes, but it really adds like more like diversity and strategy into the combat, because you can either use your echo ability like this just to do damage, or just to like knock enemies back, or you can keep it for when the red parry comes up, in order to guarantee as much parry damage and stance damage as possible, so you can knock them down and get more opportunities of attack. Dodging feels great, thanks to the slow-mo effect you do when you do dodge. Like it gives you a moment to like figure out, okay, I'm fighting 7 enemies at once. I just dodged a bullet. Is there any other enemy that is about to hit me? So you can keep on dodging, or like hit to parry. It's honestly really well done. And all of the characters feel very insanely different to play. I was actually maining Chixia for quite a bit until I got Ling Yang, and I love Ling Yang. Ling Yang feels like no other character I've played so far. He has like a special his combos basically. You can use your skill in the middle and it doesn't interrupt it. And if you do a certain amount of your normal attack combos, it makes your skill an improved version, and it charges up your special meter, which then you do this and you start doing like aerial combos, and it's so cool. Ling Yang is so sick. And each character feels extremely different. The starting character is very good and very strong, which is really cool for them to do because they could have easily just made a pretty meh character. The starting character has like basically like an infinite juggle, which you hold charge attack and then your normal attack, and you can like continue comboing people. The healer literally has that, and it's literally like a turret that you can move around basically, and it heals. Like every single character in this game feels drastically different. They all have their unique little things, and it makes the combat so much better. It makes them so unique. I cannot wait to get Gion, because I want to experiment more with more different types of combat. Now, in terms of the world, you can probably see behind me, it's honestly very pretty. The best comparison I could give it to, because I'm gonna have to compare it to Genshin, because this is one of the few things you can compare it to, like the aesthetic visuals and that stuff. Obviously, subjective. Aesthetics are subjective. But the best way I can compare it is that when I was talking to Titanic, you know, a friend of mine who is addicted to the game and also has been streaming it quite a bit, is that what we have right now is Wuthering Waves' like Mondstadt and Liyue at most, right? From 1.0. And when you compare it to that, it really shows how good the world is for this being like their first crack at an open world, like, you know, Breath of the Wild Genshin style thing. It's pretty it's pretty good. There's so much verticality and general just like horizontal exploration that you can go through, which is aided by the movement, which I'll talk about later. There's also the environments are really well designed, and they will get better, but I love what they have already, and it makes it feel like a very like lived in world. The city is beautiful. I always forget how this place is called, but it's beautiful. There's just like random like tacit discord like auras in the sky, and it makes it look so pretty. Both in the daytime and the nighttime, it looks beautiful. When the game needs to get serious and it gets gray and dark and gritty, it looks great too. And it's such an improvement from the closed beta test 1, which I participated in. That made it like honestly the game looked dead. The saturation was like down to 10%, and everything looked so gray and dull. And I'm so glad that they improved the world, the visuals, and the design, because this is honestly just great. Next, the music. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I think it's pretty great. It doesn't have bangers like you know, Genshin has a couple bangers both in game and out of game. The only banger that I'm like, holy, this is a banger for Wuthering Waves so far is the one of the reveal trailers that they had in the reveal live stream, which, oh man, that reveal live stream. But there was one with like a dude singing, and it was like EDM or dubstep. That was an absolute banger of a song. But aside from that, the game doesn't have bangers, but the combat music gets you pumped, which is what's supposed to do. The atmosphere music is great, like you can hear in the background with like the animal noises and all that, and it really gets you immersed, which is what it's supposed to do. Even like the silly stuff, if I stand still enough, hopefully Ling Yang does it, but his lion dance drums whenever he's in his lion roar stance, his special attack stance, when he has his full bar, or in his idle animation, which is what I'm hoping triggers right now, all works perfectly with the world. It really makes it feel so much more alive. Ling Yang, please, I'm stalling so much so that you can do it. Please do it right now. Come on. I know you want to do it. You're looking at the camera. You did the one that has no drums. I hate it here. Oh, here we go. He did it. Like, it's silly. It's silly, but it fits him and his personality. And it really, like, brings it all together. And there's silly stuff like that, like, and just the music in general that really brings the whole package together. Then, let's talk about voice acting. I also give it a 7 out of 10 because the voice acting can range from, you know, Yang level slow, which, you know, the voice actress did a phenomenal job. Don't get me wrong. Yang is like, you can feel the emotion in her voice, in like the serious moments. Like, there's weight to the voice acting, but it's so slow. And some of the characters have that as well, where it's not like the best of the best you can hear. But there's also characters like Jiyeon and Scar in the story that are just absolute bangers throughout. Every single line, they deliver it on 110%, and it really elevates the experience of the quest that they're a part of. Really makes it feel like the characters really are alive. So it really brings up the voice acting to like a whole, like that 7 out of 10 that I was talking about, instead of an average 5 out of 10. In terms of character design, which kind of goes into voice acting and what I was mentioning earlier about combat, the kits of each character is, you know, very widely in enjoyment. Every person enjoys different things. I enjoy very flashy, very movement style, very, you know, glass cannon style combat. But I think overall, all of the characters are pretty well designed. Obviously, you have, you know, either like extremely complex, like you have to match your like you have to match your combos, and like Jiyeon, you have to like time your fucking ability to with your bar. Like I think there's Senhua, I think that's her name, I always forget. Sanhua has a thing where she literally has like a rhythm like game almost, like a timing thing in her like special bar. You have to time it in order to get like a special, more damaging attack. Like, it's every character feels different, and they're all pretty well designed, all things considered. They all have like a specific archetype, and they all play really well within it and with each other. And those archetypes really fit the voice acting and the general like story that the character has. I think it's pretty well done. And well, the visual designs, especially of the 5 stars, are pretty great. The 4 stars look very normal, which is kind of expected in gacha games. Like, you know, if you get a 5 star, you expect them to be flashy, cooler, do a little more damage. But yeah, no, the 5 stars definitely feel like well visually designed and way flashier than the 4 stars. And it really accentuates their playstyles and personalities. My favorite part about the game, movement. It's a 10 out of 10, baby. It's perfect. The movement in this game is so sick. Everything about this game is so, like, everything about this game revolves around the movement and the freedom of expression you have within combat and out of combat. It's incredible. Being able to do what I just did of weaving the grappling hook while you're gliding and then dashing and gliding again, great. Sprinting, not consuming stamina, is great. Some characters have special like things that you can dash more like 4 times. I was playing with Chixia earlier. You can dash like 4 times. Chixia also has a thing that is super fun to use, where she has 2 dashes in her skill. And so what you do is dash, dash, skill, jump, this, dash, glide, come back down, dash, dash, skill, glide, like that, and you traverse so quickly, and it makes it so fun. And while there's wall running as well, wall running literally makes vertical like exploration so much better. I don't know how I'll feel going back to Genshin or going play Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, where I can't just do this. It feels so much better to explore vertically. The movement in this game is incredible. It's my favorite part of the game, and it really complements everything so much better. And which leads me to the exploration. We're gonna skip performance right now because I'm gonna talk about that in a bit. But I'm gonna skip to exploration, which I also gave it a 10 out of 10, because not only is it enhanced by movement, but just like walking around, taking in the atmosphere of the world, you know, bringing it back to the world, while seeing like a random chest in the distance, going to it, killing some echoes, getting a new one to equip and a new ability. Like this dude is a fucking car on fucking legs. And be rewarded for that curiosity of just walking around and exploring is phenomenal. It's really well done. It's very similar to the first time I booted up Breath of the Wild or Genshin, and I just walking around doing absolutely no thought of what I'm doing or where I'm going. I'm just walking around, experiencing the world, listening to the music, doing some fun combat. That movement, man, it really brings it all together. Just exploring the world, the challenges, the domains, all of that. Exploration in general would be abysmal, and I mean abysmal, because of how vertical it is. If it didn't have the grappling hook, the infinite sprint, the dashes, the wall running, the exploration is so tied to the movement in this game, and the movement is so good that exploration is phenomenal. I love the exploration in this game. The world feels alive. It all like perfectly together. And then oh, I guess before we talk about PC performance, once again, let's talk about the puzzles that are in the world that you find exploring. I think they're all right. They're like a 6 out of 10. It's all right. They're not like difficult in any way. They're pretty straightforward so far. There's like little like organized Tetris pieces style things. There's like some like shoot targets in the distance style things, like hit things in an order. Like it's very simple puzzling, very Genshin puzzling, but they're fun. Like they managed to introduce different ways to have each different puzzle interact with the world, and overall it's pretty fun. They're pretty fun. And then finally, the last thing that I've been skipping for now is PC performance. I give it a 10 out of 10 because, honest to God, I have run into zero, and I mean zero issues playing this game. It's been running perfectly on ultra graphics, 1920 by 1080p, running 60 FPS. It's perfect. It's running perfectly smoothly. The only issue I've run into, as you can see, I have 131. Sometimes it spikes. Yesterday, when the game released, I had 60 flat, and it was consistent. So the ping practically doubled since release, which is interesting. But even then, most of the combat and most of like the important parts of the game is actually client side, not server side. So the only thing that really interferes with the server is if it's really high ping, or to do certain, or you're waiting for some like certain changes in the world because of a quest or stuff like that. But overall, the performance has been working pretty well. I know there are people out there that have a lot of frame rate issues, a lot of connection issues. There are a lot of people with just a ton of bugs where like UI elements just disappear. I kind of expected something like that, considering that, well, Hoyo was a much bigger company. Even at the time where they didn't have as much money, they were a much bigger company with a lot more development time for Genshin that Kuro Games had for Wuthering Waves. And this is not an excuse on, you know, let's not tell them about the bugs and tell them to fix the bugs. I'm just saying, like, like they'll fix the bugs. It's gonna happen. They've already patched the game like 3 times, twice before it even released, to fix bugs and help with crashes. It definitely will get better, and it'll just, you know, it'll get better. I'm honestly extremely satisfied with the state of the game. All of the scores added up and averaged is an 8.1 right now, which for a live service gacha open world game like it would be Genshin, Wuthering Waves really delivered, really brought it a full fucking force. It's a great game. Love it. I'm gonna be playing a lot more of it, and hopefully I get to the end game so then I can review that as well and give some genuine thoughts about that as well. But oh, and yeah, one last thing. They're all so hot, man. They're all so hot. Like, be so for real. They're all so hot. Like, how could I don't know, man. Every character is either very charming, very fun or funny, or very hot. Gion, I literally barked on stream for. Okay, that aside, yeah. I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate y'all hearing me out on my opinion. If you go watch the CVT1 review that I gave, you can see a very different experience I've had with this game now, a very different opinion, and a much brighter opinion of Wuthering Waves. And I'm excited and I'm happy for the future of this game. And most of all, I'm excited and happy about the future of gacha in general. This really brings hefty competition to Genshin, and the same way that they panicked and gave us an extra 40 resin the day before Wuthering Waves came out, like they announced that, and tomorrow, by the time this video releases, we're gonna have the Genshin dev live stream. They're putting, they're putting as much effort as they can now to to keep the play rates that they have. Genshin is not gonna disappear or struggle. Don't get me wrong. It will be, and it still is, the largest gacha game ever made by far, and it probably will stay that way for a long time. But Wuthering Waves being around, maybe driving some players away, especially the combat heavy ones, might genuinely put some pressure on Hoyo to start developing endgame content for Genshin. Might be, increasing drops on bosses so that you can level up more characters and experiment more with combat in Genshin, all that stuff. So I'm just excited about the future of the industry. I'm excited about the future of Wuthering Waves and for Genshin, and I'm just excited to pump out more videos, baby. So I appreciate y'all for watching. I'm gonna be posting a lot more in the coming weeks. Yeah, that's all I got for today. Blah bustle of love. I'm so tired. My mouth hurts. I wish you all the best. Bye bye. Have fun.